The false promise of imitating proprietary LLMs, model evaluation for extreme risks. AI researchers and public figures express their concern about AI risk, and NVIDIA reaches a $1 trillion valuation thanks to booming AI demand. Welcome to AI News with Samuel Albany. The false promise of imitating proprietary LLMs from Berkeley asserts that model imitation of proprietary models like ChatGPT using open source alternatives is a false promise, and that, contrary to some views in the community, there exists a substantial capabilities gap between open and closed language models. They find that crowd workers do indeed give high ratings to models that have been tuned to imitate their proprietary counterparts, but this imitation causes the model to regress far behind the proprietary models on other axes such as question answering on factual knowledge. The authors suggest that improved scaling and pre-training will have more influence on improving performance than gathering further imitation data, concluding that the biggest limitation of current open source language models lies in their weaker base capabilities. FactScore, fine-grained atomic evaluation of factual precision in long-form text generation, observes that evaluating the factual precision of language models is challenging. FactScore aims to automatically assess the percentage of atomic facts supported by a given knowledge source. In their assessments of existing models, the authors find that factual error rates are higher when generating content about rare entities, and also higher for facts mentioned later in the generation. When comparing existing language models, the authors found significant differences in factual accuracies. For instance, GPT-4 has a substantially higher estimated factual accuracy than StableLM. Gorilla, large language model connected with massive APIs, is a collaboration between Berkeley and Microsoft that releases Gorilla, a fine-tuned llama-based model that surpasses GPT-4 on writing API calls. The authors collect a dataset of API calls, then use GPT-4 to generate instructions showing their usage, and use the results to fine-tune Gorilla 7b from Llama. At test time, Gorilla can be used either zero-shot or in combination with retrieval to execute API calls. On API calls from TorchHub, Gorilla outperforms Llama and commercial models without fine-tuning. The Gorilla authors provide a demo of the tool, showing how it can make useful API calls from natural language and can interpret requests more usefully than Spotlight. Model evaluation for extreme risks is work led by DeepMind that observes that model evaluation is critical for addressing extreme risks. Here, the focus is specifically on the extreme case, where the damage could be in the tens of thousands of lives lost or hundreds of billions of dollars of economic or environmental damage. The authors consider two categories of evaluations relevant to risk assessment: judging whether a model has dangerous capabilities and judging whether it is aligned, i.e., whether it has the propensity to harmfully apply its capabilities. These assessments can then inform processes for responsible training and deployment, transparency, and security. Conceptually, the authors suggest that we can think about the frontier at the leading edge of building general-purpose models, where there is the greatest risk, as a colourful diagram. At the bottom, we have existing models. The white region represents territory just beyond the current frontier. The purple region contains models that could pose extreme risks via misuse, and lurking behind, right at the top, is the red region of models that pose extreme risks even without misuse due to misalignment. I prefer the labels scary and very scary. Next, we have an update to the Chatbot Arena leaderboard, with Palm 2 appearing below models from OpenAI, Anthropic, and LMSys.org. At present, there is a major gap in ELO rating between GPT-4 and Palm 2. Some caveats apply here though. Some of this gap is due to refusals from Palm 2, and the fact that it often fails on non-English prompts suggests that the API is not providing the latest version of the model. Spring. GPT-4 outperforms RL algorithms by studying papers and reasoning, observes that RL has done well on many games, but its high sample complexity has limited its effectiveness in open-ended games like Crafter and Minecraft. This work is the first to show state-of-the-art performance in a challenging open-world game with a zero-shot LLM-based policy, where the LLM is GPT-4. The method takes in the paper describing the game and extracts relevant information with GPT-4. Then it combines this with information from a visual descriptor and chain-of-thought reasoning to select an action. evaluation. This approach gives much stronger results than existing RL-based baselines on the Crafter benchmark. QLoRA, efficient fine-tuning of quantized LLMs, reduces memory usage enough to fine-tune a 65 billion parameter model on a 48 GB GPU while preserving full 16-bit fine-tuning performance. QLoRA works by backpropagating gradients through a frozen, 4-bit quantized pre-trained language model into low-rank adapters. The key technical innovations used to save memory are 4-bit normal float, a new data type, double quantization, which works by quantizing the quantization constants, and paged optimizers to manage memory spikes. As one of several demonstrations of the technique, the authors show that they can fine-tune Llama with very low memory requirements to produce Guanaco models that are highly competitive in a chatbot tournament when rated by humans or GPT-4. Improving factuality and reasoning in language models through multi-agent debate investigates the use of multiple language model instances that propose and debate their individual responses over multiple rounds to arrive at a common answer. The authors find that this enhances mathematical and strategic reasoning and improves the factual validity of generated content, and get gains on tasks like writing biographies and arithmetic. They also find this strategy to be complementary to other techniques like chain of thought prompting. The authors release code and prompts. How language model hallucinations can snowball looks at the phenomenon of hallucination snowballing, in which a language model overcommits to early mistakes, leading to more mistakes that it otherwise would not make. The authors hypothesize that language models produce snowballed hallucinations because they prioritize consistency with earlier hallucinations. Experiments across multiple domains suggest that there are many cases in which ChatGPT and GPT-4 will make errors as part of a longer answer that they know to be wrong when these questions are asked independently. The datasets are made available. AlignScore, evaluating factual consistency with a unified alignment function, observes that automatic evaluation of factual consistency is challenging. The authors propose AlignScore, a new general factual consistency metric based on a unified text-to-text alignment function. This function is trained by combining data from many datasets for tasks like fact verification, paraphrasing, and summarization, and using the pairs of data as supervision for alignment. Once trained, this alignment function can be used to estimate factual consistency between claims and context. This approach is highly competitive with LLM-based metrics that require more expensive models. Quality diversity through AI feedback from Corp AI looks at combining quality diversity algorithms with large language models to produce high-quality solutions that span a design space. The authors start from an algorithm that maintains a population in the form of a grid that spans the design space. The key idea is that rather than using hand-coded metrics, the quality and diversity feedback scores are produced using large language models. The authors try it out on writing poetry and movie reviews. Scaling data-constrained language models ask the question, given the chinchilla scaling laws and the trend of training ever larger models, what should we do when we run out of data? To answer this question, the authors train more than 400 models and fit a new data-constrained scaling law that generalizes the chinchilla scaling law to the repeated data regime. The resulting laws suggest, for example, that in the regime shown here, using approximately 4 epochs of repeated data is nearly as good as new data in terms of the return on the final test loss you get for deploying more compute. But after 40 epochs, repeating the same data further is effectively worthless. A quick roundup of other news. A lawyer has apologized for fake court citations from ChatGPT. The lawyer who submitted the cases said he was unaware of the possibility that content from ChatGPT could be false. This proves what we have all long suspected. Not even professional lawyers read the small print at the bottom of web pages. George Hotz has launched the Tiny Corp, a computer company that aims to compete with NVIDIA by providing software based on the TinyGrad stack. For recruiting, there's only one way to get hired at the Tiny Corp, and that's by submitting high-quality pull requests to TinyGrad. Forbes reports that amid a growing call to pause AI research, LAION petitions governments to keep AGI research open, active, and responsible. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak met with the CEOs of Anthropic, DeepMind, and OpenAI to discuss the development of AI. NVIDIA joins the $1 trillion valuation club on the strength of booming AI demand. Uber teams up with Waymo to add robotaxis to its app. America's 2024 election is colliding with the AI boom, with deepfakes of political candidates proliferating, reports Reuters. On to AI risk. The Center for AI Safety published a single-sentence letter saying that mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal-scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. It was signed by many scientists, researchers, and CEOs, and also your humble narrator. There were other perspectives too. Andrew Ng suggests we should make AI go faster, not slower. Jan LeCun says that superhuman AI is nowhere near the top of the list of existential risks, in large part because it doesn't exist yet. Joseph Jacks tweeted that he did not sign this because AGI fearmongering is nonsensical, toxic, and greatly serves the interests of the entrenched incumbents. To share my own view, I agree with Joseph that AGI fear may benefit the incumbents from a market perspective. However, I disagree that fear about AGI is nonsensical. I haven't seen any evidence that we can reliably interpret or bound the behavior of current models despite significant efforts. As the models get stronger, I believe the risk will be sharply elevated, and so I consider mitigating this risk to be a global priority. On to useful resources. Hugging Face, in partnership with Stability and Eleuther AI, have ordered an external audit of the SafeTensors library. Going forwards, this will be installed in the Transformers library by default. Next, Andre Karpathy gave an overview of how GPT models are currently trained at Microsoft Build.
Keep in mind that it's still very new and still rapidly evolving, but so far the recipe looks something like this. Now, this is kind of a complicated slide, so I'm going to go through it piece by piece.
You can find the full video online. Now it's time for Samuel's book recommendation. This week, I'm recommending The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Thomas S. Kuhn. This book offers a perspective on how scientific progress evolves over time. Rather than linear accumulation of knowledge, Kuhn suggests that science is episodic, with normal periods punctuated by revolutions with big changes. Last, I'll mention a project I am working on called Filtir. We're focused on fact-checking ChatGPT outputs. If you're interested in finding out more, you can find our Discord link in the video description. Also in the video description, you can find links to the mentioned articles. I hope you have a wonderful day.